Well, g'day and welcome back to another one, NRL Round 23. I'm going to give you a bit of a preview of my thoughts of the upcoming games, my tips and sort of predictions, what I think might happen. But first, just want to acknowledge the fact that Shaun Johnson has announced his retirement at the end of this season, and that is massive news. Definitely one of the best Warriors players in any era or whatever, in any consideration, in any position, would be my top five. He would be in my personal top five, and the amount of memories and moments that he's been able to provide us as fans has been just amazing, even neutral fans. He has done things on the footy field that no one else really has done. So just want to acknowledge that. I do appreciate it. It's probably not going out quite on terms that he'd like. Last year was just such an awesome year, and it's hard to sort of replicate that, and I do appreciate that, but certainly this year hasn't quite gone to plan to be fair to him. So yeah, like, you know, I'd love to see him go around the track again and just one more time, but I guess he's pretty content with where he's at, and so, you know, full credit to him for making that decision. It must be awfully difficult, I must admit. So anyway, I'm looking forward to seeing how the Warriors finish the season. I'll talk about that in a minute when we get to their game, but let's start off this round. There's quite a bit to get through and unpack. I'll try not to waffle on too much. Stick around, please. But yeah, certainly a lot on the line for a lot of teams. So starting off the round tomorrow night with the Rabbitohs versus the Storm. Rabbitohs currently ranked 15th and the Storm 1st, although the Storm lost last week. So anyway, with the Rabbitohs, they've got Cody Walker back. That's a big result for them. And also, yeah, so otherwise pretty standard there. Not too many changes there. Fletcher Myers gets another run on the wing. And then for the Storm, the big news there is Ali Katoa is out injured for 1 week, I believe. He'll be back round 24. And therefore Trent Leero goes into the edge and Nelson Asofa Solomona goes to lock. He'll play, his minutes have been slightly increasing over the last couple of weeks. It's likely he'll play a bit more, whether he's lock or prop, it doesn't matter. Between him and Josh King, they'll swap around. Anyway, so my take on this game is that the Storm were a bit rusty last week. Of course, they're away, but the Rabbitohs, the Rabbitohs aren't in the class in the conversation, really, and even compared with the Dragons, probably, in that sense, who did beat the Storm last week. I think the Storm will win this one comfortably. They'll be, Craig Bellamy's going to get stuck into them this week, and they will bounce back, I'm pretty sure. So that would be my prediction. I think that the Storm will win 13 plus. So let's keep moving. The Titans, Cleese Haas comes in because Beau Fermor is out, which is unfortunate for them. Otherwise, it's a pretty consistent team, although AJ Brimson is just floating around. He is currently 18th man, but Keanu Kinney has just been so awesome at fullback. I don't know how you could change that, even with Brimson coming back, and of course the halves have been pretty good with Jaden Campbell and Kieran Foran. So look, I don't know. I think AJ Brimson, if he's coming back from injury, is likely to be on the interchange anyway. So that's that. And then in terms of the Sharks, who are currently ranked 4th, did win last week and they won okay at home. This is a game away. Titans coming off their big win against the Broncos with a lot of confidence at the moment. But yeah, the Sharks, they've lost, unfortunately, they've lost another half to injury. Braden Trindle has got a sore hamstring. He's going to be out for a couple of weeks. So that means Blake Brayley goes to halfback. But I think that Cameron McInnes has done that once already this year. So we'll see. That it could be interesting to see what they do there. Otherwise, largely unchanged. Jaden Beryl gets on the bench there. So look, I don't know. This one is a tough one to pick. Let's have a look at the odds, but yeah, the Titans are favourites. I would be leaning towards the Titans on this one. I think Braden Trindle out is a big out for them. So look, I'm leaning towards the Titans. I feel like it'll be a close one, but I kind of thought the Titans versus Broncos was going to be reasonably close last week, but I will go Titans 1-12. I think that the Sharks forward pack really need to step up here, and the Sharks outside backs need to really do their best to sort of contain the Keanu Kinney and Jojo Fafita and some of the outside backs that the Titans have there that are just playing so well at the moment. And Jaden Campbell, I mean, who knows what he's going to do. So look, I'll go Titans 1-12 on that one. Eels versus Panthers, the next game. Panthers extremely strong favourites, even though the Eels had a pretty good game against the Warriors last week, but you'd have to say that the Panthers are going to be strong favourites here. Canberra have brought back Canberra bound gun Ethan Sanders is in the mix, but yeah, look, otherwise pretty much the same team for the Eels, although I think there was one player out that isn't backing up from last week. So the Panthers ranked second, Eels 16th, not completely last, but they a couple of wins. They've got a bit of a buffer off the wooden spoon spot. And in terms of the Panthers, Dane Laurie's back from injury, so he'll come into fullback. And other than that, pretty much the same. No sign of James Fisher-Harris yet. He's still a little while away, and Scott Sorensen starting on the edge. So pretty good team there, you'd have to say. Look, I think the Panthers should win this pretty comfortably. 13 plus. There's not much to talk about there. Eels are out of the competition, and they played well last week, and they played well in the first half against the Storm. But I don't think they'll challenge the Panthers too much. Certainly now that the Storm lost, the Panthers they're right on track for a minor premiership, depending on who wins that Storm Panthers game. I think it's next week, and then we've got a Raiders versus Sea Eagles. Sea Eagles are favourites in this one. It's in Canberra. Ethan Strange is back for the Raiders. I think they rested him last week. It doesn't sound like there was an injury, and he has played every game for his debut season in the NRL, so I think that a rest was not a surprise really. Jamal Fogarty's been playing really well since he's been back from injury, and otherwise I think it's a relatively settled side for the Canberra Raiders. Morgan Smithies did finish the game early last week with a head knock, so it'll be interesting to see how that goes, but it sounds like he's meeting the criteria to be named, but we'll see. And then we had Adam Cook's on the interchange, and I guess maybe that's cover for Ethan Strange and however that's working. But Adam Cook started the game last week, and then for the Sea Eagles, they're coming off their bye, and Olakawatu is back from his suspension since State of Origin. Ruben Garrick is back. It didn't look like I thought he was going to be out for just a little bit longer, but he's been named, so that's a good sign. And Lehi Hopewadi, sorry, pronunciation's pretty awful there. But he's back as well, and he played exceptionally well the last time he played. So you've got Ben Trebojevic on the bench, which means Carl Lawton starts on the edge. Yeah, look, I think this one is probably one of the harder games to tip, if I'm honest. It's so hard to tip against the Raiders at home. But yeah, look, I mean, the Sea Eagles are a step above, I think, but that home field advantage, and if the Raiders can sort of, yeah, look, it's not going to be a blowout. It's unlikely that the Raiders will let that happen. Their defence will be good. Ricky Stewart will get them up for it. But I think I'd lean towards the Raiders here. They're one win out of the top 8. I think the Sea Eagles coming off the bye is going to be the fascinating part. So I just feel like the Raiders are a good chance of winning this in a very, very close one. It could come down to golden point, but I think that the Raiders will win 1-12. That will be my tip. And I'm a little bit behind in my tipping, so I do need to make up a few numbers. But anyway, Cowboys versus Broncos up in North Queensland. Cowboys pretty solid favourites for this one, and that makes a bit of sense with Payne Haas out for a few weeks, but probably the end of the season. We'll have to wait and see, and I believe Ezra Mam is out as well. So in terms of the Cowboys, Helam Lukey has been named. He's just coming back from a head knock injury. Ruben Cotter is back. He's been named. So and Jeremiah Nanai will wear jersey number 24 in this one, because Carl Webb, they've retired the number 12 jersey in honour of Carl Webb for this game, I suppose, against his old club, Cowboys being against their old club, his old club, the Broncos, as well. Anyway, so largely pretty solid for the Cowboys here. Most of their outs, all the backs are pretty much the same. Viliami Valia is holding on to a centre spot there, and Kyle Felt's in the mix. But yeah, otherwise, yeah, the forward pack is sort of, as I said, Sam McIntyre is starting prop, which is, I guess he's done that a couple of weeks. But you've got Griffin Neem on the bench. And then the Broncos, as I said, you've got Ezra Mamount and Payne Haas, and that's massive. So Xavier Willison will start at prop, and I don't mind that at all. I like that. He's the future. He's got a bit of X factor about him, and it's always fun watching him play. And then Josh Rogers, who has played a bit this year, is starting at 5/8 in place of Ezra Mam. But yeah, you'd have to back the Cowboys to win this one. I think it's just by how much. Obviously, the Cowboys have got, they've still got still in the season, still in the mix. The Broncos, however, I think they're pretty much out now. It's hard to sort of back them at the moment, so I would be leaning towards the Cowboys winning this one. I don't know if it's going to be a bit of a blowout again, although the last two performances from the Broncos have not been pretty whatsoever, and the attack from the Cowboys is pretty solid, I must admit. So look, I'm going to go 13 plus. But that's the part I'm not sure about. So then you've got Dragons versus Bulldogs. I mean, the Dragons coming off a massive win against the Storm. 25 years, I think it was, since the Dragons have won in Melbourne. Massive hoodoo, as they've been saying, but massive result. Unbelievable indeed. And one that I don't think many people would have tipped. And then the Bulldogs, who are kind of, I don't know, they're certainly the most improved team this year, but I think a lot of people are getting on board with them this year. They've been playing pretty well, pretty exciting, and this week again we'll see Stephen Crichton and Josh Adokar. Otherwise I think a pretty consistent Bulldogs team, and Josh Curran will start at prop. He had a bit of a shoulder injury on the weekend, but he has been named to start. Otherwise, not too many changes there. And then in terms of the Dragons, Tyrell Sloan played pretty well last week. He was a key man, and he's still got his spot. So, otherwise, pretty consistent team there for the Dragons as well. No big changes. So, look, this one's a pretty tough one to pick. The Bulldogs are favourites. They're currently ranked 5th. The Dragons are ranked 8th, so the Dragons are in the top 8. Bulldogs slightly favourites. It's a home game for the Dragons at Jubilee Stadium, in that sense, technically a home game for them. I don't know, I really like, if before last week you would have backed the Bulldogs every day, but I think in my top 8 prediction video, I sort of said the Dragons were slipping slightly in form. Well, last week threw that out the window, didn't they? That was an exceptionally impressive performance. I think this is going to be a pretty good game, actually, and I would say that if the Dolphins can do what they did last week, then they are a very good chance of winning. It's going to be close either way. It's a toss of a coin for me. I would probably give the Bulldogs the edge, though, so I'm going to go Bulldogs 1-12. I think they have been the better team this year. They've had a more consistent form over the last month or two in particular. They've got their big guns back with Stephen Crichton and Josh Adokar in particular. A little bit light maybe in that middle forward size-wise, and that Dragons forward pack can be pretty good. But I just think that the Bulldogs will have enough to just get across the line there. Although Ben Hunt, he could be that difference maker, couldn't he? But look, let's go with Bulldogs 1-12, and then in terms of the Dolphins versus Warriors, Dolphins currently ranked 9th. They're 1 win out of the top 8. The Warriors 13th, and their season's all but over. The main thing that I would say about the Warriors, with Shaun Johnson just announcing his retirement, that I feel like the pressure will just come off a little bit. I don't think, the expectation and pressure from last season has just been probably overwhelming. Other teams have sort of been able to, just keep an eye out for the Warriors. They kind of know that the Warriors are a decent team, and they need to be wary of that, and they've obviously paid attention to what was successful for the Warriors last year and been able to shut that down. So there's been a ton of injuries as well. But yeah, look, I don't know if the Warriors will have this one. I think the Dolphins will be too strong at home. But I just think that, if you look at the Warriors game last week, the amount of pressure, the frustration, you could just tell the players were not in a happy place. And I think that with Shaun Johnson himself having made that decision, I think that he'll play more relaxed. He'll want to win, but I think that playing relaxed is what suits their style and certainly his play. I think it'll be a good thing. I think it'll be a very good thing, and I would like to see that Warriors play a lot better than they did last week. So I am expecting them to do that. I think they've had success against the Dolphins this year. However, I think the Dolphins, they'll want to step up as well. They haven't been playing to their full potential in the last little while, although they did do pretty well last week, and I sort of tipped them to be close. They just didn't quite get there, but. So Tavita Pangai Jr. starts for the Dolphins. Otherwise, they are pretty normal. I think Cody Nikorima is on track to return. He has been named at 5'8", so there you go. But yeah, look, I think that I'm leaning towards the Dolphins winning this one in a close one, 1-12. Jermaine Asako, he injured his ankle, but he has been named, so we'll wait and see there. But yeah, I don't know. I think that a couple of inexperienced, we've got Ali Latoa and Edward Kossi, a bit of inexperience there, and I just feel like with the way the Warriors have been going, it's pretty hard to tip them in this one. So yeah, look, Dolphins 1-12, but I'm really looking forward to seeing the Warriors play with a more relaxed sort of attitude, I suppose. And then Knights versus Tigers. Tigers way down there at number 17, Knights at 12th at the moment. This is in Newcastle. Phoenix Crossland, he stays in halfback, and that means that Jaden Bradley will start at hooker, which is, I think, okay. It worked reasonably well for them last week. They were pretty competitive. So yeah, look, but I think that they should win this one comfortably. It almost doesn't matter who they put out there on the field. And in terms of the Tigers, who did show some pretty, good effort on last weekend. They scored 30 points, and they did that with Justin Olam off the field for the last 30 minutes. He's obviously not playing. He'll be out for a little while. I don't know how long. I haven't seen that. Adam Dewey's going to take his place. They were saying he was being rested. I don't know what that means, if that's legit or not. He's missed a couple of weeks, but he's back because Olam's injured. And look, I don't know. Lockie Galvin and Aiden Caesar. He's back. Aiden Caesar's back from suspension. I didn't think he was there last week. Ruben Porter's been playing well on the edge, and Samuela Fainu's been doing really well. Isaiah Papali'i's back as well. So yeah, look, you can't tip them. You just can't tip the Tigers, not yet. And that is it. So a lot going on. I think it's obviously there's a bit of interest for the minor premiership. There's a bit of interest for that top 4 spot. Bulldogs will be chasing that, and the Cowboys are in the mix there as well. The Seagulls want to try and cement their position in the top 8, as well as the Dragons. The Raiders will want to beat the Seagulls to get into that top 8 spot, although the Seagulls are safe this week anyway. And then, the Dolphins against the Warriors are likely to win, so they should go into the top 8. So they have a better points differential against the Dragons. My tip is, if the Dolphins beat the Warriors, they'll go into the top 8. If the Dragons lose to the Bulldogs, and I'm tipping the Bulldogs beat the Dragons, and I'm tipping the Dolphins beat the Warriors. And then other than that, the wooden spoon looks just about sewn up, although those two teams do face off against each other in a couple of weeks. And I think the Broncos are really struggling where they are. So, fascinating round, but it's really only sort of 2 or 3 results that will matter in the bigger scheme of things. Certainly the ones that are the results that are unpredictable. If you've watched this video, thank you very much. And look forward to the weekend ahead. Thanks.